Historical Society on BCTV is supported in part by the Highlands at Wyomissing.
Hello and welcome to the monthly program of the Historical Society of Berks County. I'm your host, George M. Miser IX, President of the Historical Society of Berks County and publisher of the Historical Review of Berks County, the Society's quarterly magazine published continuously since October of 1935. Not incidentally, most back issues are still available from the 1930s to the present time. It should be noted that this program is telecast live on the first Wednesday of each month at 7. It repeats this Friday at 10, Saturday at 6, and Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Welcome all to our September 2010 program. Wrong script. Beside me is Sime Bertlet, Executive Director of the Historical Review of Berks County.
Good evening.
And beside Sime is Janice Longlot, the Society's Publicity Coordinator, and bon vivant. And beside her is Joshua Blay, Society Curator and Associate Director.
Good evening, George.
Good evening, folks. We're delighted to have you with us.
I'd like to tell the audience that the Historical Society of Berks County's museum, the Henry Johnson Library, as well as our gift shop, in addition to our exhibition halls, are open Tuesday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. I would also like to add a caveat to that because we're very fortunate in that we have a new project going on at the Historical Society's library, the Henry Johnson Library, through a generous donation or grant given to us by the Wyomissing Foundation and a private benefactor. We are going to be installing high-density shelving into the library's, what we call our stack room. It's great because that's going to allow us to expand our storage space by about 70 to 80% in that room. But it requires a lot of work. So the Henry Johnson Library will be closed the week before Thanksgiving 2010 and through the end of December 2010 for the moving of the books, the installation of the storage shelving, and then the reinstalling of the books and the training of our volunteers. So if you plan to do any research at the Historical Society's Henry Johnson Library during that period, please call first to make sure that we are not closed. Again, and that is week before Thanksgiving 2010 through December and possibly into January of 2011, so be aware of that. I'd also like to invite everybody to stop by the Historical Society's museum store. It's a wonderful shop where you can purchase things that are unique to Berks County, that that tell the story of our culture and the wonderful artisans that we have in our community. You also have a great collection of Berks County history books previously owned, as well as new books to choose from. And I think you'll, once you come in, I think you'll make it your first stop for shopping when you want to buy a special gift for a guest or a visitor who might be coming from another area or that you might be going to visit. We do have some very unique products, so please stop by.
We remind those of you at home who are not yet members of the Historical Society that only for $40 a year, that's just over $3 a month, then you can be an individual membership of the Historical Society. Membership includes unlimited use of the library and the museum, our quarterly journal, the Historical Review of Berks County, and also our 3 times a year members update, and also advance notice for upcoming meetings and programs and exhibit openings. Family memberships, if you're interested, that's for everybody living in the same household, are $50 a year.
I'd like to stay on Josh's coattails. While we're on the subject of memberships, we need to put in a plug for our friends here at BCTV and remind everybody that if you're not a member of BCTV, I urge you to do so. This organization is a survivor in a really tough market. And you need to support them because they offer an interactive programming that you won't find anyplace else. It talks about nothing but our community, and it really is good for the community, and it tells you what's going on in the community. So really help them out, join BCTV. It's a great organization, and we owe them a lot here at the Historical Society.
So why not salute BCTV for all the great shows it provides to Reading and Berks, and send a check for $30 for a year's membership. Mail your check to BCTV, 645 Penn Street, Reading 19601. Remember, time passes, but operating expenses never go away. As we speak, The Passing Scene Volume 18 is being prepared for publication and released to the Society members and the general public in November. Our good friend Jan Abramowitz at Writing Eagle Press put that together for us. And Joshua, you did a good job too with the one that you got together. We appreciate your efforts in that regard.
Sure.
Orders are now being taken at the Society. I think from what I heard, we might be close to 600 or 700 orders, which is very impressive. Great. There are quite a few people who have ordered books. And many of them have ordered multiple copies, some people 6, 7. So that the books are coming along very well. We remind you that if you would like a copy of your volume 18, don't hesitate, because twice we sold out and people were disappointed that they weren't able to get copies. And I'm not saying that idly, that's an absolute fact. Orders are now being taken at the Society. The books are $48, tax included, and $55 mailed to any U.S. address. So to reserve your copy of Volume 18, and you must pay for it in order to make the reservation. And plastic, we take cash, PayPal. Do we take anything else?
We don't take white PayPal
until not until the books are in.
Yeah, once the books are delivered, we'll be taking online orders, but the way PayPal works,
absolutely,
you have to ship
PayPal,
it out.
You have to be able to send out in 2 or 3 days. So, in order to reserve your copy, dial the Society at 610-375-4375. Okay, at this time, let's see a couple of pictures. What we're doing, and we started this, I think, 2 months ago, to give you a sneak preview of some of the things that are going to be in the new Volume 18 coming out. Now, be aware that with these pictures that I'm going to be showing you, many of them have what I call insets, or now pictures. Some of the photographs have 2 insets showing current visuals of some aspect of that which is shown in the picture itself. Joshua participated very recently in something that I think you'll be seeing fairly shortly, and it's really very, he's so photogenic. Let's have some pictures, please. Janice, here is your Liederkranz.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes, I think we may have showed this one before, but Janice has a keen interest in the Liederkranz and was not able to see it. That's the Liederkranz. Where was that located, Janice?
Pardon?
Where was that located?
On Chestnut Street. What 100? 7? 7?
Up a little bit more. I think, let me see, we would be what, around 8th? Around
I think it was between 7th and 8th.
Between 7th and 8th?
Sure.
Not between, well, anyhow, it's on Chestnut Street. It didn't stay like that very long.
No.
If you read the history of the Reading Liederkranz, it's amazing how that membership grew almost exponentially within a very short time. They were always going to larger and larger headquarters. I think they moved about 4 or 5 times till they got this place. And they were here only a short time when they enlarged that building substantially. The building that's on that site today on the south side of Chestnut Street, now it's, I believe it's some sort of an Hispanic fraternity, or...
it was sold, George, to a Hispanic group.
Oh, it was sold, okay.
That was in 1990?
Yeah, it's been a while.
In other words, you're telling me they tore that down?
No. They enlarged that. They built onto it. That has a very unique doorway, and that doorway is still there with that ornamentation.
Yes.
They added to it. They changed it rather considerably, but that's still part of the original building. And that little house on the left-hand side is now sort of a garage. That's still there, and the building on the right-hand side is still there. Yeah. But what you see when you go there today is a building very much enlarged over what you see in that particular picture. But the doorway is the same.
It's a great picture.
It is a great picture. That's an early picture. I think it was about 1902 or so.
Wow.
The next one, Josh. Oh, that's the building, as it appears today.
Yeah, it became blue.
Yeah, and it became blue. And that sort of a garage next door was the house that you saw in the previous picture. Okay, the next one. This was a shrine outfit, and it showed them in their new outfits. They were really, that would have been a great picture to see in color, because that was extremely colorful. The viewers who've been around for a while remember the ASAM wallpaper place on Franklin Street between 5th and 6th. You used to be able to go back a little alley on the west side of that big building. Now that was the old shrine temple, and let's see, did I include the next? May I see the next picture, Joshua?
Really?
Oh, that's it today. Now that building, if you see old postcards and whatever, it had like 2 turnip tops at the extreme left and right side of that building. They were removed years and years ago.
Is that the building you and I were in looking at that furniture, the shelving, or is that another building?
That was another building.
Okay.
But that was the old, before they bought the Academy of Music building and redid it as the Raja Theater and Temple. That was the old. Actually, they started out in the original St. Matthew's Church building, and it was very interesting to see that church building with 2 turnips on the top, you know, on either side. Then it was too small. They tore that down, and they put that up. And they abandoned that for the Academy of Music building and the Raja Theater on North 6th Street. But that was the old shrine headquarters. Next slide, please. This is a really, really early one. I found that on eBay, and it was a stereo view published by Fred Yeager. Now, Fred Yeager came around in the late 80s, late 1880s, and was still around a little after the turn of the century. He had been one of the first defenders from Reading to show up in 1861 at Lincoln's Call. But anyhow, he didn't get into the photography business until about the 1880s or so. This predates his time into photography, which clearly tells me that he bought this negative, or he bought the picture, made a copy negative, and made some stereos. A lot of the photographers years ago did that. There were some people locally who sold pictures of Gettysburg and the battlefield at a time when they weren't taking pictures, so you know that they had bought the negatives. Wiedersall was an early photographer who took some of those things. But that's a Schuylkill Canal boat that you see in the foreground, and the fellow on the left-hand side has like a snow cutter being pulled by that horse that you see, and they loaded the ice onto that boat, and that was stored. It always amazes people, and it used to amaze kids, that when you tell them that you had these old-fashioned ice houses with no electricity, whatever, and they could actually store ice in a building with cork insulation, and by putting sawdust between the blocks of ice, and you could actually keep ice until, most times, until the next ice harvesting season. You could actually keep ice over the summertime. The clue was the bigger the ice house, the longer the ice lasted. And also you had to have a flow of air inside, and you had to have immediate drainage. You couldn't let ice lie in puddles of water. You had to get that out of there as fast as you could. But if you had a big ice house, you could actually keep ice during the heat of the summer until the next ice harvesting season. Hard to believe, but it's a fact.
I remember seeing photos of ice houses that burned because obviously they're wooden and they're big, so they're susceptible to arson and whatever else.
And a lot of sawdust.
And post-fire, you see these big blocks of ice sitting around charred remains. The ice is still there, but the building is gone.
It's that's interesting. Yeah, that would have been down at the very end, down where the Heasters sort of made boats. But that's a sizable boat that's being loaded with ice. Very interesting, a very rare picture. The next, please. Some of us will remember when this happened.
This is near the paper mill, isn't it?
Well, that was Lysa's Bridge.
Wow.
Lysa's Bridge. They used to have, whenever there would be a fire on the east side of the Schuylkill River, the fire apparatus had to cross over that bridge from like not Berkshire Heights, but from near the airport, and Greenfields. And they used to make a fuss that it wasn't safe to bring that big apparatus across the bridge. And mysteriously, it burned. Talk was that there was a certain fireman who thought if the bridge disappeared, they would build a new, stronger bridge, and there wouldn't be a problem. Well, the bridge burned, but they never replaced it with a bridge appropriate in that particular location. Later on, they did build that highway that connects from Route, let's see, from the 61, there is that new bridge there at Cross Keys, the Cross Keys Bridge.
Oh,
but they waited for years and years for a bridge at that location, and it just never happened. This connected Muhlenberg Township with Bern Township, and that was Lice's Bridge, burned in 1952. Now the original photograph of that is really in the book. It would be absolutely gorgeous. This on the screen doesn't do full justice to what's actually there. The next one, please. And that's another one. Actually, I managed to get a couple of those bridges on fire. I remember when Bushongs burned, I lived right across the Schuylkill River near Bear Park, and I could see it burning from my house. And I dashed over and got some pictures when the thing was actually still burning. I have some great color slides of Bushongs Bridge. That was in Glenside there with the paper mill. Anyhow, that's Lice's Bridge, burned in 1952. That was a long bridge. You can see it was a two-span bridge across the Schuylkill River.
George,
yes.
is that the one on River Road? You can still see the ramp?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, actually, you know, you had a couple there from along River Road. You had Stouts Ferry Bridge, and but that's sort of up at the end of River Road. But that was right along in the middle.
Right, near
Yeah, that
61.
was Lice's. Well, that actually went over and sort of connected behind the airport. It wasn't that far from the airport when you crossed over there.
Okay.
1952, it burned. I remember that very clearly because I had my driver's license about that. Anyhow, about there. This is a really rare one and a really great photograph. That's quite early. That was the general store in Leesport. The building still stands. It's an apartment house now. That little building that you see on the back, the fellow specialized in wire fencing, and he would put wire together to make all kinds of unusual fencing upon request. Some people will remember that as Sunday's General Store, but this picture even precedes the Sunday's operation of this store. That's a very old picture, and old postcards of Leesport show that as Mogul's store. Still stands an apartment house today. The next. Oh, there it is.
Oh.
Go back once again, please, to see how they enlarged that with that mansard roof.
Huh.
That's the building as it appears today.
It looks like the building on the right in this shot is the same as the one on the right in this shot.
No, not really. That was actually, you can see where, if you go to the site, you can see where it was attached to this building. The building that you see in the back is about 8 or 10 feet away from...
But this one right here looks like the same. This one right here, maybe not?
No, because the other picture that you have was...
Yeah, right.
There's a door in the back where you would go out of the back of that building right into the place where they made... But that's Mogul's store.
Huh.
And if Marvin Moyer from Leesport is watching, Marvin, that's you there next to that pillar. You have to look closely, but you're there.
And I recognize another vehicle with an open door.
Another vehicle with an open door. Anything that I would recognize... Oh, yes. Yes, yes. On the main street of Leesport, Route 61, formerly Mogul's store. The next. This was very interesting. Our good friend Chris Papadakis, who advertises extensively in the Historical Review of Berks County, came across this picture, and I wondered where in the world this place could have been. I recognize that as a schoolhouse, and the building on the right-hand side was a farmhouse, and if you were close up, and in the book, it's much clearer than you're seeing on the screen, was a barn. I thought, well, now, wait a minute, where would there be a farmhouse and a barn and that schoolhouse? So I went to my friend, Marvin Moyer from Leesport, and said, do you recognize these buildings? And he said, of course. He said, that's Gurnand's Church School. Gurnand's Church near Leesport would be out of the picture, off to the left side. Yeah, very close. That was the schoolhouse. The house over there on the other side of the street is a farmhouse. The barn is gone, but the house is still there. You go to that site today, and I wanted to get a now picture from exactly the same perspective, but it's not possible because they planted trees all around that schoolhouse building, and there's no way that you can photograph it like that today. Next picture. That's a close-up of the schoolhouse. Building is still there. Now a residence. Next. That's that same building. You can see why I struggled. What you're seeing in that other picture is from the back side of it, and on the back side today there are so many trees you just can't get that picture today. I'd like to get now pictures from the same perspective, but it isn't always possible. And many times by the time that I realize there should be a now picture, it's in the dead of summer when the trees are in full bloom, and I have a problem. So that's that Gurnance Church Schoolhouse. And if you were to go to that side, that's actually the back of the building because you can't get the front. If you were to go off to the right, you're on the cemetery for Gurnance Church, and then the church itself is a little bit off to the right of that. But that's a stone's throw from Gurnance Church Cemetery. Next. And that's that farmhouse that you saw with our friend Mr. Moyer standing in the picture. The barn is gone. Okay, we'll just look at this one yet. I'm doing a story in the book thanks to William Kerr, K-E-R-R, Dr. William Kerr, Jr., whose dad was a school teacher, ran the Reading Classical School 110 years ago. I think Mr. Kerr is living in the Highlands. The school started in that building directly ahead on the left side. Now this is the picture that he sent to me, and you can see why I had a bit of a problem using that photograph as it was given to me. Let's go to the next picture.
Oh, boy.
And most of you who've been around for a while will recognize the building on the right as the M.J. Earl paper building. Let's go back again.
You can see where it says Earl on the building.
Yeah. So you can see these old pictures, some of them absolutely have to be restored to make them usable. But the school started in that building where you see the clothing sign. They were there about 3 years and decided to move to something really palatial, and you'll see very shortly. Let's take a little break and go back to
events. Okay. All right. Well, I'd like to remind the audience it's September, so we're starting our program season again after the summer recess. Normally, in the past, we'd have our first Saturday programs, but as I have mentioned on other programs, we've changed the first Saturday programs to the second Saturday programs. So, on Saturday, September 11th, we're going to be having our first second Saturday program. And this is going to be one that's different from what we've been doing at the Historical Society. My colleague here to my left suggested this, and I thought it was a pretty good idea. The Historical Society, in conjunction with the Pennsylvania Humanities Council, is going to be hosting a program that features the speaker, Dr. Kenneth Womack. And the subject is, or the program is called The End, Authorship, Nostalgia, and the Beatles. And it's going to be a program. Professor Womack is a professor of history at Penn State Altoona, and he has written a number of books on the Beatles. This is going to be an audio as well as a visual presentation on the Beatles, video presentation, and it's going to go over and talk about and discuss, analyze the songwriting techniques and structures that the Beatles used, the Beatles and the aspects of recording artistry that they had in their songs, how those songs were made different from the other groups of the day, say such as the Dave Clark Five or the Rolling Stones, that type of thing. It's also going to look at the artistry of their guitar playing and how their music evolved from the Beatles of, say, 1963 to 1966 to when they evolved into their Rubber Soul, the Revolver album, and then later into the Sgt. Pepper, because it was a completely different band towards the latter part of their life than it was in the beginning. And then lastly, I was talking to Dr. Womack, and he also said that he's going to look at the final album, the Abbey Road album, and how the final medley really signified and said that this truly was going to be their final album. So it really is going to be a great and very interesting program. Again, it's on Saturday, September 11th. Refreshments start at 9:30. The program will start at 10. Admission is free for members, although we do ask for a $1 donation for the refreshments and $5 for non-members. So that's going to be an exciting program. On that same day, after the program, you can walk down to the historic Hendel House, and we're going to be having the Hendel House open house. But for that day, we're going to be doing a fundraiser for the Hendel House that'll help pay for the renovations and maintenance of that historic property, and that's going to be the second annual Ragtime Willie barbecue. And the Pig Pit is going to be providing the food. Tickets for, and you have your choice of either pork or chicken barbecue, potato salad or pasta salad, beverage, that type of thing, for $7. In addition to that, you're also going to be having music by Ragtime Willie, and they are quite good. It's kind of a bluegrass, folk, light rock band, and they'll be out on the porch of the Hendel House. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
What's that date again, son?
That is Saturday, September 11th.
Be here before you know it.
Yeah, it's a week after. It'll be a week from this coming Saturday. The Beatles program, second Saturday, starting in the morning at 9:30, ending at probably around 11. Ragtime Willie at the Hendel House starting at 11 o'clock. So it's going to be...
I was going to say, the picnic lunches are only $7, which is not bad. That's a ton of food, either chicken or pork.
A lot of food, and it runs till 4 o'clock.
Yeah. And if you don't have time to stay, you can get it to go. It's a lot of food.
Now, we've got one big event that's coming up that we really like every year, and I'll let this lady here to my left, who was the instigator for this, and Janice was the one who got the 4 Centuries in Berks Historic Property Tour. And I always look at this on this tour with very fond memories, because it was the first time I had met Janice when I came to the Historical Society in 2006, and she said, well, you're the new director. Would you like to work on a project with me? And anyway, it was the 4 Centuries tour. So Janice, let's tell the audience about the 4 Centuries tour for this year.
Well, fortunately, we did get it from the Berks Conservancy. They decided that they were not into house tours. They were more into land issues. So we took this tour on. It's our 5th year, and I think it gets better.
It gets better every year, no question about it.
I mean, I just love the tour. So do you have the poster?
Should be up on the graphics camera.
It should be.
This year the tour is going to be, it's always the first Saturday of October. This year it's going to be Saturday, October 2nd from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m., okay? And we are going to be exploring the land to the north of the confluence of the Schuylkill River and the Tulpehocken Creek, Bern Township.
Yes.
That's right.
Okay. And if you look at the poster, you could have some teaser pictures there of some of the properties we are going to visit. You can visit these properties on your own. You can also take a bus tour. And George, you're going to be our guide on the bus, and Michelle Lynch, our editor of the review. We will offer one bus, and it will be $50 a person. And that bus will leave from the Historical Society at about 8:45. So if you're going on the bus, call the Society, be there at 8:30. The regular admission would be $22 a person. Day of tour, it's $25. So I hope you get your tickets, you know, before day of tour.
And that's a very reasonable price, because the booklet itself is a real keeper.
Yeah.
If you ever on this tour, I've always tell people, they say, Simon, describe the 4th century. Can you zoom in on that? Let's see, we take it over here. When you talk about the 4 Centuries tour, they say, how do you describe it? I always say, if you're ever driving around Berks County and you see a property and say to yourself, boy, I would love to see what the inside of that property looks like, this tour allows you to do just that. This year we have 10 properties on the tour. We have 8 properties, homes, that are dating from the 1730 all the way up through 2003. So you really get to see 4 centuries in Berks County's architecture. And one of the houses is over 17,000 square feet. It is absolutely incredible. We also have 2 churches on the tour, 2 real historic churches, Bern Church and Epler's Church, and I believe they're going to be selling lunches for the...
not only lunch, breakfast.
Breakfast, too.
They're selling breakfast. Enclosed in your book, when you get your ticket, you will get the ticket, a wristband, and of course an insert. And then you'll also get a menu from the church on either side, one from Bern, one from Epler. and they will tell you what they're going to be serving that day.
What are they going to be serving?
Okay. I like Epler's breakfast, pancake and sausage on a stick.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Breakfast sandwiches?
Breakfast, yeah, juices and coffee and tea. Then at lunch, you can get a ham sandwich, turkey on cheese turkey on a Kaiser roll. You also can have an apple, cookies, brownies, beverage, also chicken noodle soup. Oh. Then at Bern, you can go there and then you can get donuts and coffee and tea and cocoa. Then for lunch, they have vegetable soup, grilled hot dogs, turkey barbecue, snack bags with chips and pretzels, brownies, cookies, cupcakes, small pies, water and soda. So, well, you might as well just go on the tour so you can go to eat.
Just go to eat.
Yeah. We always tell people you don't have to do the tour in order. Some do it backwards to avoid the crush at the beginning of the tour. But if you plan it right, you could have breakfast at one church, do the other properties, then come back for lunch or early dinner.
I intend to do that.
Yep.
There's another neat aspect on the tour this year. Can you zoom? How close can you get on this tour book? Which camera are we going to use? You? Okay.
Ooh,
do you see those things? Those little squares with the squiggly lines, they're right beside the tour directions. Those are called QR codes. And what they are a two-dimensional barcode. And we're going to show you something here that I think is pretty neat, and you won't find too many other places. Those two-dimensional barcodes, QR codes, have information on the latitude and longitude of those properties, okay? And when you use one of the new smartphones like this iPhone, or you can also use a BlackBerry Curve, or you can use one of the droids. I would like to show, right before we go, if we can show this. This is how these things work, and they really are unique. Josh, can you hit that?
Sure. We got to get...
Can we do this before the break?
There we go. Here we go.
So this is, okay, this is how these things work. You open up the QR code. It takes a picture of that barcode, and it puts it into your map and shows you where that is. You can push the directions, and it will take you from the location where you are when you shoot that barcode to the property. That is way cool.
Unbelievable.
So that's part of the tour. So like I said, you can take the tour any way you want. If you have a smartphone, those applications are free on the iPhone, the Droid, or the BlackBerry Curves. You can download that for free, and it'll automatically take you to this. So we think it's pretty neat. But again, it is the 2nd of October, 2010, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And if I may, I'd just like to thank the sponsors who help us put on this tour. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do that, and they need to be recognized for their contribution to Berks County. I'd like to start with our signature sponsor, which is Weidenhammer, also Reese Advertising, Reading Bakery System, Associated Construction, the Highlands of Wyomissing, This Financial, Land Display, Reading Eagle Press, Comcast, HBC Auxiliary, the UGI, M&T Bank, Phoebe Berks Village, Affinity Bank, Carpenter Technology, Berkshire Bank, Eschbach Masonry, William G. Cuckin Associates, Tulpehocken Nursery, and Masano Architects Group. All of us at the Historical Society, thank you very much for helping us fulfill the mission.
I think we have a break coming up.
Oh, I was going to say we forgot something important.
What's that?
Ticket sites.
Ticket sites will be available by calling the Historical Society of Berks County. They're also available on our website, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
On the poster. They're on that poster.
They're on the poster, so like I said, just call us. We have ticket locations, sales locations located around the county. It's real easy to get, in addition to the Historical Society. So please give us a call. Now I guess we have a break.
You're watching the Historical Society of Berks County on bctv.org. Be informed, be involved, be a member. For membership information, go to www.bctv.org/support/membership. For other information on local heritage societies and local history, go to bctv.org. The Historical Society of Berks County on bctv.org is underwritten by the Highlands. To find out how you and your business can support a program on BCTV, go to bctv.org.
Home viewer, We have a home viewer who's been very patient. Yes, home viewer.
Yes. Regarding Lyce's Bridge, had you ever heard a story or rumor at that time they were dredging the river? This is what somebody told me out there, lived out that way. They were dredging the river at the time in 1952, and they were bringing the huge dredge down the river, and they were going, that was blocking the way to Lyce's Bridge. They were going to have to dismantle that machinery and move it around the bridge and put it, reassemble it on the other side. And somebody might have, they said, somebody might have decided it would be easier to have the bridge burned down than have to go to all that expense.
They also said the same thing about Stout's Ferry.
You're talking about Stout's Ferry Bridge. They brought the dredge down. That was Stout's Ferry Bridge, and that was a few years earlier. That was 1948. That's when Stout's went down. No, this was arson.
Was that Stout's Ferry Bridge?
That was Stout's Ferry Bridge, went down in 1948. They used to have big support cables on that thing, and mysteriously one night the cables were cut. And within a short time, the bridge began making a terrible creaking sound. The Reading Eagle was reporting on these sounds, and people were standing by, watching and listening. They heard it all over the place because it was the sound of the groans of an old whatever on its last legs, and the bridge did go down in 1948. And
but that was the one that was definitely related to the dredge.
That was the one related to the dredge.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry to bother you.
That's okay.
I thought they told me Lyce's Bridge.
No, that was it. Lyce's Bridge was definitely arson on the part of someone who shouldn't have been playing with matches.
Okay. Hey, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Okay. Joshua, do you want to step in? Is there something that you'd like to tell us?
Sure, I have a few things along, but I'll put a little footnote on the news about our second Saturday for September. With our second Saturday programs for now, we're going to be holding a raffle, and I brought a book along with me. We're going to be holding a raffle for tickets, three tickets for $5, and this will be the raffle prize for our September second Saturday program. A really nice book on the Beatles, nice hardcover book we picked up, so that'll be the raffle prize for that. I brought a couple items along with me. If you can hit the Tommy Dale can, we can start with that one.
You have two cans.
I need your help. I don't know anything on this company. I tried doing a Reading Eagle archive search through their own website and also through the Google News archive search. The only thing I know is they were up in Muhlenberg Township. This tin was donated to us in 1997, but I don't know anything on the company. I would love to know anything on the company, so if you have a chance, call us here on the show, or you can call us at work, 610-375-4375, if you have any information. I was able to find a few obituaries of people that had worked there, but I really don't know anything about the company.
Janice and I do. Because we both bought, maybe Simon too, we bought Tommy Dale potato chips.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of like, the racing exhibit. I mean, to find a definitive history that's written on racing in Reading and Berks that's tough.
I think we have one of those at home with sugar in yet. That we sort of kept in.
I think they also made pretzels, but this is the only piece we have from Tommy Dale itself. And the other item here, I wanted to win the prize for the first outhouse on BCTV, but sounds like I lost that to somebody else. But if you can have a look on the outhouse here, this is an outhouse donated to us in 1976. It was actually made by Randy Rowe in 1973, and was also made by a gentleman named George Spang Jr. If I can reach the latch here on the door should come open by itself. There we go. And you can see inside a bit. There's two seats on the inside and even a broom, and it's hard to get at from here, but there's also a life size. You can see it standing up in the corner, I think on your right-hand side of the monitor. There's also a really, really small Sears, Roebuck & Company catalog, which is completely readable if you have good enough eyesight.
I don't think that's what they were using.
But you can see there's also a broom in there. But
You know why the broom is there? To clear out the spider webs.
Okay.
Oh.
But it's a really cute piece.
Makes sense.
Gloria can tell you all about that.
We have a few pieces of artwork by Randy Rowe, who is a very well-known local artist. He was also a carver, so it's a really unique piece, and it's actually signed by George Spang and Randy Rowe on the base, so it's hard to see here on the TV. I think we have a home viewer. Go ahead.
Yes, the Tommydale potato chip. The first factory was on Elizabeth Avenue, on the west side behind the first corner building there, a small building. And then they moved from there over to Water Street and built a new building over Water Street. They were there for several years, and then the woman wanted to retire, and her son didn't want to run it, so I think she moved to New York.
Okay. What was the time of the retirement? Do you have any idea when they went out of business?
Or when they started?
Buying them.
What's that?
Where did they go out of business?
On Water Street. You know where Wakeman's Restaurant is?
Yeah.
There's, I forget what's in there now, but there's I think it was some kind of factory moved in there. There was a building on the south side of Water Street, in the middle of Water Street.
Okay. The approximate date?
What's that?
The approximate date when they went out of business?
Approximate date they went out of business?
Yeah. Just generally.
Oh, sometime in the mid-'70s.
Yeah.
Okay. If you give me a call at work, I'd love to get some more information. If you have a chance to call me tomorrow or Friday, we'll be closed on Saturday. But if you have a chance to please call me at work, I'd love to speak with you.
Okay. What's your number then?
610 375
375
4375.
4375.
Yep.
And your name is
Josh.
Josh.
Yep.
Okay, Josh, I'll try to give you a call. That time is when?
9 to 4.
9 to 4.
2 on Saturday.
Yeah, 9 to 2 on Friday. Thank you very much.
9 to 2 on Friday.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
And that reminds me, for those watching live this evening, or if you're up late at Friday night at 10 o'clock, an observance for Labor Day will be closing at 2 o'clock on Friday, and that includes the library, and will be closed on Saturday as well. And also for the property tour, the research library, the Henry Janssen Library, will be closed the day of the property tour as well. We have our 2 special exhibits ongoing. We have our members' treasures in the main gallery. We also have our monobox silver exhibit. The silver exhibit will be into the end of the year, and we're already working on the next 2 exhibits coming up. The first one is called Racing in Reading and Berks. That'll be opening up in April of 2011. That'll be our major exhibit for the coming year. We've already been meeting with a number of people with a number of wonderful collections. We're going to be displaying some articles on some very well-known names, Hintershitz, Chitwood, Thompson, talking about the different kind of races, everything from the sulkies at the original City Park Fairgrounds to the races at the Reading Airport, and also, of course, up at the fairgrounds before they closed in the 1970s and moved to Bern Township. And we're also developing a coverlet exhibit in the Palmer Gallery. We're actually just going through our collection this afternoon, pulling the quilts all around. Some 171 years old, it was.
Yeah, it was 1839.
1839, yep.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to mostly be coverlets from our museum collection to get a chance to display more of our material. If you have a coverlet at home that's in wonderful or pretty good shape, exhibitable shape, please give me a call at work. I'd love to speak with you. I'd love to see what you might have. That's all I got for now. I think we got some more pictures. Thank you.
Okay, back to some photographs. Again, this is sort of a semi-sneak preview of some of the photographs that are going to be in the new Passing Scene book coming out in November. These are dandies. We're looking at the Black Bear Hotel in its latter days, but not as bad as it really appeared at the very end. I remember when they took down the Black Bear Hotel. The Black Bear Hotel, for those who are not familiar with it, was on 422. European Motors would be on that site today. It's at the very beginning of the Ole Turnpike across from the Mount Penn Family Restaurant. You walk from the parking lot, well, actually, it would sort of be across from Rita's Ice next door to the Mount Penn Family Restaurant. Walk across the street to that brick-colored cement block building, European Motors, and that would be where the Black Bear Hotel was. It was a nightclub, and it was owned by a series of very interesting people. One of them was Tiny Hefner, which some of you people might remember from back in local history. He was the only person that I can think of who had the clout to have his nickname put in the telephone book, because at one time they were very fussy what they would put in that telephone book, but apparently he had something that they couldn't refuse, like a revolver, and they put that in the telephone book. You people who remember something about Black Bear. Jackie Gleason played there in the 1930s, and the story is told, and it's in his biography, that he played the Black Bear, and he went out and he really bombed in the first set. And he was really disgusted, got himself some drinks, and he was well lubricated. Went out the second time around, and he killed him. He was Jackie Gleason.
Oh, yeah?
Jackie Gleason played there, yeah. So that's where that was. In later years, that became an apartment house, and they didn't take such good care of it. But in the old days, they had a zoo behind there. The Black Bear had their own baseball team where they played behind. I mean, that was a big deal. And Thomas Edison in 1907 came to Reading. His group came to Reading to the in-town station on Franklin Street, and let's see, Irvin S. Herbine, Berks County's premier pyrologist, picked them up in a wagon and took them out to Black Bear, and they actually made a film for national distribution on the Black Bear Hill. Thomas Edison film was made there. I've only ever encountered one person who remembered seeing that film crew, and I interviewed her a long, long time ago. But indeed, Mr. Herbine picked them up. They were there for about 9 days or so, and he took them back to the station, and off they went. The chances, I've been trying for years to find out the name of the film and whether a copy of that exists, but unfortunately that was on nitrate film, so I'm sure the film doesn't survive unless they had it copyrighted by shooting each individual picture, which they sometimes did. So that they've actually restored some of these old movies, not from the film itself, but from the copyrighted each frame. And they actually photograph every frame and go back and you know, because some of those things are thousands and thousands of frames that they have to scan in order to get that movie back again. But anyhow, that's the Black Bear Hotel. The next, and there it is again. That was really quite a place. Now, that was rebuilt in the 1880s in a Victorian style. That was originally a very early stone building that fronted on the Oley Turnpike. And, but that's okay. That's what it looked like at the time that they took it down in the late 1950s. 1958, in point of fact, was when they took the building down. I do have color slides of them tearing that building down. The next. This is a real dandy. That is the old hotel at Eschbach. Eschbach was on that little railroad, Joshua, that connected Bartow with
the Colebrookdale line.
The Colebrookdale down with Pine Forge. Mm-hmm. And that hotel still stands. It doesn't look like that today, and it's a very modernized sort of hotel, but that's a really great picture of the old hotel at Eschbach. Eschbach, for those who are not familiar with it, it lies between Bartow and Bechtelsville. So that sort of gives you, actually it's old Route 100. Old Route 100. It's right along there, and it's a neat hotel. I haven't been in there yet, but I intend to go back to get some pictures. The next. This I remember quite well. This is the general store at Loboxville. That was still in operation when I first began going around taking pictures, and Mr. Becker operated that thing. They had a post office there. The Wideners ran that for years, and you can see that was a real general store. That was one of the last of the general stores in Berks County to survive. The last one that survived, to the best of my knowledge, was up at Stony Run. And I was there. I took movies the last week that the thing actually operated. They had a post office up at Stony Run. When that closed, that was the end of Stony Run Post Office and the last real general store building in Berks County. Next. Here we are, Joshua.
Oh, dear.
I was in Joshua's office a short time ago, and I looked up, and there was this painting, and it certainly something about it looked very familiar. Now, we're looking, southeastward, Joshua. We're looking downriver. That's the Lebanon Valley Railroad Bridge. Now, when you drive across the West Shore Bypass, you go under the Lebanon Valley Railroad Bridge, but it's quite different today.
This is probably looking from the present location of that storage facility.
Yeah.
Right off of, yeah.
Right. That's the Union Canal on the right-hand side. It had a lot of water in those days. They were pumping water with 2 cordless engines up there in Lebanon County to keep water in that canal. That operated until October of 1884. The Schuylkill River is in the center, and on the right-hand side is the Schuylkill Canal. I grew up 2 blocks away from what you're seeing there on the left-hand side. Later on, they built the Ole pipe mill, part of Reading Iron, on that property on the left-hand side.
Look at that split rail fence on the left.
Yeah, that Stoga fence is really very neat. What happened to that bridge, Joshua?
It burned during the railroad riots of 1877.
Yep.
Yep, and they built the new bridge right alongside the supports of the old bridge. When they built, well, they replaced this with another bridge, but then they replaced that bridge with another bridge. It was either right during or right after World War II, and you can still see the abutments.
Yeah, you can still see the abutments on this side, on the west side. Now,
you can see them on the east side too. There's a trail, the part of the Toon Trail goes on the left-hand side there.
That's right.
The bridge.
That's right. It goes up to Bear Park in that trail. Okay, now that's a painting that hangs in the Historical Society in Joshua's office. Yeah, that's the painting. It hangs in Joshua's office. But what does that measure, 10 by 15 inches?
It's not very big. Well, you can see the size of my hands.
How many hands across would that be?
It's...
I'm kidding. We're not measuring a horse here. But now, take a good look at that picture and go back to the Now, that's the painting.
That's the photo.
Yeah, and that's right. That's the photo. Now that photo I copied from a little picture that I bought on eBay. It was taken about 1872. The picture on eBay that I used to make that last one that you saw was 2 1/4 by 3 3/4 inches. That's a small picture. But what you're seeing there is the very same thing, painted by J. Heil Razor, whose family had very good. His family had 2 drugstores in Reading, one at 6th and Penn, and one at 6th and Walnut, where that little luncheonette is today. Those were the drugstores.
Some of you at home who are members of the Historical Society might remember I talked about this painting in one of my last articles. The Schuylkill River Heritage Authority, I believe that's what it's called. Used some of our paintings for informational placards on the history of the area, and they used this painting on one of their signs near the site of the former Bushongs Bridge.
Really?
Yep.
Now, when you compare the photograph to the painting that Josh was holding, they are absolutely identical, except
there's a train. Well, there's the fence you can see more of there, but in this one here, they put a train, and you can hardly see it. But there's a train in this one.
There's a train in the painting, but not. But you can see that he absolutely worked from that picture. This is interesting. Taken in 1932, they formed a chess club in Reading, and it was really quite something. Look at that photograph, and you'll see that every man has a 3-piece suit on, rather formal affair. 1 or 2 have pipes in their hands, and there are 5 ladies, I believe, in that photograph. They took this chess very, very seriously. This club or association lasted about 50 years. It started in '32, and by about late 70s, early 80s, it had more or less gone to nothing. There's only one real chess club left in Berks County, and that's the Amity Chess Club that meets Friday nights from 7 to 10 in St. Paul's UCC Church.
One of the colleges might have a chess club.
Yeah, but I mean for general adults, for the older people, because the 3 champions in that picture were pushing, well, one of them was pushing 80. What's very interesting, they took this so seriously, they had a major tournament where people came down, get this, from Lebanon, Lehigh County. They left Allentown at 7 o'clock, and they stopped at the outskirts of Reading. They were escorted into the Abraham Lincoln Hotel with motorcycle police. They played their tournament. They took film, and film of the chess games was showed at the Astor. Yeah, that's exactly right. At the Astor Theater the following afternoon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that must have been a really great film.
Slow news day.
Yeah, a slow news day is right. But can you imagine having the motorcycle police, you know, shepherd them into the Abraham Lincoln Hotel? The next picture, please. This is an interesting story. That was a mansion listed years ago in the old directories. It was built about 1872. It was at Ash and Walnut Street, which today would be Madison Avenue and Walnut Street. It's on the north side of Walnut, below 5th. The actual address of that mansion was 429 Walnut Street. It was built by William Griscom, who was a co-founder in 1851 of the Reading Hardware Company. He and Harpster went into business together. They were good friends. Harpster built quite a mansion for himself in elsewhere, but this was Griscom's mansion on Walnut Street. About 1902 or 1903, Samuel Kerr and a good friend of his, Ambrose, what was his name? C-L-O-T, I guess, started a school in here, the Reading Classical School, and in the old mansion. And it operated until 1907 in that building. They sold that, and it eventually went to the Medical Society and the Visiting Nurse Association. And they were there, I can remember when they were still there, into the 1950s. They tore that wonderful building down in 1957 to make way for what some of us remember as the Medical Society's building that's on that site today. And today that building is now being used by the Berks AIDS Network. Next picture, but that was quite a mansion. That's the interior, one of the classrooms, and you can see the old, look at the chandeliers and the fancy plasterwork on the ceiling. Next picture. And there is the faculty. There's Samuel Kerr on the left-hand side, on the front row, the first gentleman on the left-hand side. His sister is next to him, and a teaching associate who in 1907 went to New York City and became a rather well-known professor. We thank the people who were on our panel today, Joshua,
Thank you.
Janice, and Syme. We look forward to seeing you on the first Wednesday of next month. Remember, this program repeats Friday at 10, Saturday at 6, Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Thanks for watching. We look forward to seeing you again. So long.